What's up, everybody? Welcome back to racenews.com and welcome back to another one of our Kentucky Derby updates. Well, we'll get you going on the latest news and then we'll go through our top five, which is going to look pretty similar to what we've had the first 2-3 weeks that we've been doing this. Now, latest news, that's actually going to be something coming up this weekend. So this is an interesting weekend for sure, highlighted by the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes at Churchill Downs, Saturday, November 30th. It's race 11 on the card. We'll have a full preview about that out very soon. So if you don't see it up on the YouTube channel as you're watching this now, it will be up just a little bit later. So I won't go into it in depth here. You can see that on the next video. But Jonathan's Way is definitely the headlining horse here. Jonathan's Way, of course, exiting the Breeders' Cup Juvenile where he was 7th, beaten 7 lengths. Like a lot of runners in that race, he didn't do much. He just didn't do much running. So we'll see now as these juveniles come out of this race and they begin to start in other races. This will be the first one to do so. Will that be a race that we kind of draw a line through as far as some of the non-runners? Hey, it just wasn't their day. The setup wasn't there for them. There's not much they could do. Or what? Did we kind of overrate some of them? And I think this will be the first step to kind of break that down. So Jonathan's Way here in the Kentucky Jockey Club, I don't know what his odds will be. There isn't any morning line out right now. You got to think he's odds on or close to it. He does stand out amongst the field. There's a couple of other horses like Dapper Moon is in this race. He's one that's shown a little bit. Tistastic for Steve Asmussen, not too bad of a horse. So, there's some runners in here. Clock Tower for Wesley Ward has shown a little bit, albeit on the turf. I mean, there's a few that they can kind of challenge him. But if Jonathan's Way doesn't win, I think it would be a big disappointment, especially when you look back at the Iroquois there at Churchill Downs that he won and won so impressively. I know that was a mile. We are stretching out an extra 16th, going to a mile and 16th. It is 2 turns. His first 2-turn race did not go well, like I said, in the juvenile. So all that being said, he should be able to get a mile and 16th. He should be able to beat this field. So that's the headlining horse for the weekend as far as in a stakes race. Now, there's a couple of other things going on at Churchill Downs you need to be aware of. And number one is all day Saturday, it is the Stars of Tomorrow 2 card. So what that means is, and what Churchill Downs does, every race will be a 2-year-old race on Saturday. So there's 12 races, a lot of maidens, and then some stakes mixed in there as well. Of course, the fillies are involved in that as well. So it's not all Derby horses all the time, but it should be interesting to see that card. There's always 2 or 3 that'll jump out at you. And that's what makes it fun. We've kind of had some slow weeks as far as news and races that really matter towards the Kentucky Derby. That goes out the window. Next week, when you see this video, we'll be breaking down, hopefully, if we see something good, a lot of these horses that are running on Saturday at Churchill. So that's what's going on Saturday. Now, the day before Thanksgiving, you may want to pay attention to as well, because there's a big-time horse, hopefully, maybe, debuting at Churchill Downs. Churchill Downs, race 7. This is Wednesday, November 27th. You're going to want to watch this race. Race 7, like I said, the number 3 Barnes is debuting for Bob Baffert. Now, some weird things. Bob Baffert debuting a horse at Churchill Downs. Very interesting. I'm guessing it's more of they didn't really have a race they loved at Del Mar in the condition book for Barnes, so they're bringing him here to Churchill. $120,000 purse. That's good as well, although with these connections, I don't think that matters as much. But very interesting that Barnes will be debuting at Churchill in race 7, Wednesday, November 27th. Now, why this is important, why this is getting a lot of attention, you hear things all the time about unraced horses getting ready to debut, especially over the summer. Saratoga and Del Mar, oh, this is the next great one. Sometimes they live up to it, sometimes they don't. What I can tell you is many people, this is not a secret, many people believe this is Bob Baffert's best 2-year-old getting ready to debut. Now, Bob Baffert hasn't said as such, and he probably won't, because that's just not the thing to do. But many people believe Barnes is going to be a real nice horse. So he will debut Wednesday, November 27th, race 7 on the card. The hype is so high that he's an unraced maiden in a field of 11, and he is 6-5 on the morning line. I expect him to go down from that, and we'll see. He, again, sometimes you get these hyped horses and they don't live up to it. I think of a horse like Fenway. 3 or 4 years ago that debuted for Bob Baffert. Everybody said, oh, he's going to be amazing. he was awful, in terms of trying to be like a superstar horse. He never was close to that. So you never know, but Barnes going to debut. That's one to watch. And I guess you could say if he runs really well and gets beat, well, then you got to watch that one that beat him as well. A couple of the horses do look interesting. Caribbean Dream is in this race for Brad Cox. This is a debuter, Juddmonte homebred. Tappet out of an Intimissif mare. He looks really good to me on paper. Again, unraced. We don't know anything about him, but I don't know. He's interesting to me. Dwayne Lucas has the number 6 Innovator. This is a horse that has finished second behind some decent horses, finished 5th behind Chancellor McPatrick and the Hopeful as a maiden. He's kind of a good measuring stick, I think, in this race. If he wins it, I do think it tells us, well, these horses that were unraced, maybe they weren't all that good, but he's a good measuring stick. He's been up against some good ones. So that Wednesday race, certainly one to keep an eye on. And it's that time of year where maidens sometimes could mean more than the stakes. So we have this maiden on Wednesday at Churchill, and then Saturday, those 2-year-old races all day long at Churchill. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what happens at Churchill here over Thanksgiving weekend. All right, let's keep going now into the top 5. There won't be much change here. We'll go through them fairly quick. Number 5 is Admiral Dennis. A horse that I do believe is going to get better as the distances get longer. He's certainly a horse that had all kinds of trouble in the first race and just wasn't able to get the job done on debut, but did bounce back and run very well in that second race. Kept him wide, easy win. He looked very good doing it. Number 4 is Sovereignty once again, and these haven't changed. So I'll just quickly here. Sovereignty is a horse that, he needed 2 turns. He kept finishing behind pretty good horses going 1 turn. Finally got him around 2 turns, and he was pretty darn good. So Sovereignty, certainly a horse on a lot of people's radar after that win in the Street Sense last time out at Churchill Downs. I was a little surprised to not see him entered, in the Kentucky Jockey Club, but I don't know, maybe something's going on. Maybe something happened. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I thought he would be in that race. They may just be patient with him, maybe try something a little bit later down the road. But anyway, he checks in at number 4. East Avenue, number 3. Was the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I thought he would run very well in there. His 2 races before the Breeders' Cup Juvenile were great. Juvenile, broke, hit the ground basically with his nose, went way back, had to come from last. That's just not his style. Total throw out for me. We'll see what he can do with a clean trip next time out, hopefully. Number 2 is Gaming, horse that ran second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and looked like he had a big chance at the top of the stretch. Looked like he maybe just got a little bit tired, could not catch the winner. And of course, like we've documented, that was his first race around 2 turns. He missed the final prep for that, which would have been the American Pharoah. First race around 2 turns in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It's a tough ask. Maybe that's why he lost. Maybe the number 1 horse that we're going to rank here in just a second is just a little better. That'll be kind of determined down the road. And then, of course, the number 1 horse, Citizen Bull, once again this week. Winner of the American Pharoah, which I mentioned. He did get that prep, and he won the American Pharoah. And then, of course, winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile as well. So the horse looks very good, and he'll be number 1 until somebody somebody does knock him off. So we'll see what happens with Citizen Bull. So number 5, Admiral Dennis. Number 4, Sovereignty. Number 3, East Avenue. Number 2, Gaming. And number 1, Citizen Bull. Okay, finally, we'll talk about some of the horses that were mentioned a little bit here as we go down the list. Some of the horses we mentioned in the comment section of this last video we did. And Bullard was a horse that was mentioned first. So we'll talk about him for a second. Of course, Bullard was able to win the Bob Hope last time out. Look, I've got him in the top 10. It's kind of he got a really good setup in that race. And of course, it was just a 7 furlong race as well. So he's kind of a wait and see for me. But yeah, I've got him in the top 10. I think he makes a lot of sense. If you want to put him in the top 5, I mean, or wherever you want to rank him, that's fine. If you think he's really good, I think that's fine as well. So no worries there, or no argument, I guess I should say. I think he's pretty darn good. Bold Fortune was a horse that was mentioned. Bold Fortune is a New York bred who's now 2 for 3, broke the maiden at Belmont at the Big A, and then went to Finger Lakes and won the New York Breeders' Futurity. Obviously with a New York bred, going to have to step up and might be able to do so. I would look for him in a race like the Jerome early on. You've seen this type of horse step up and run early at Aqueduct and be pretty good in some of the early races. That's kind of what he reminds me of at this moment. So Bold Fortune, New York bred, maybe look at him some of the smaller races there at Aqueduct. And then it looks like Barnes is a horse that was mentioned. Of course, we just mentioned Barnes, so we'll see what happens with him. And then one more horse that's kind of on the trail, at least, or maybe not even on the trail, but kind of under the radar, so to speak. Scorching was a horse that was mentioned. So I will be quite honest with you. I had no idea. I had an idea who he was, but I kind of had to look back and see, okay, where was Scorching running? And he's been at Woodbine. And that's kind of why I didn't connect the dots, him and the Kentucky Derby. But when you look at Scorching, he does look pretty darn good. He's won 2 stakes races in a row. I actually run the first stakes as a maiden. So at Woodbine, obviously going to have to go to the dirt, and we'll see what happens there. But, I do think this is a horse that, as I kind of looked him back over, I was like, yeah, that is one that he's not in my realm of thought, but I can't watch his races and say he's not very good, right? Like he looked pretty darn good in both these stakes victories. So Scorching one, I think, maybe that under the radar type of horse. Kind of keep an eye on that one. So, all right, that's the kind of the comments. Drop some others in the comments if you want to hear, especially early on. We'll kind of break those down and kind of take a good look at them. So, all right, that'll do it for our Kentucky Derby news update this week. Thanks, everybody, for watching this video. Hit the like button if you like it and subscribe. You really like it. Want to get alerted anytime we do races. Well, not races, but videos like this or race previews that we'll do later on today and throughout the rest of time, as long as we're around. So, all right, guys, thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you right here next week for what should be another pretty extensive Kentucky Derby update.